Hey cats, what's happening? You know, working with construction crews for most of my career, one thing that I learned a long time ago is you never tell another man your weakness. And I'll tell you a little story about that. Of course, there was a guy on the job that had a deathly fear of snakes. And he made the mistake of telling all the guys on the crew that he was afraid of these snakes, and that if he saw one, he'd run and scream like a little girl. Well, they picked up on that right away, so anytime there was a snake that was found on the job, of course, it would either end up being dangled in the guy's face or dropped in his lunch bucket or something. And of course, he'd scream like a little girl and run, and they'd get a big kick out of that. I don't know that I have any, like, really bad phobias or anything, but I know a story that happened a couple years ago. We were on a construction crew, and we were working on the road, and we had to patch a section of asphalt on the road. And so I was running the chop saw. It's kind of like a chainsaw, but it has a round circular blade with a diamond blade that cuts through the asphalt. And I was down on one knee, and I was running the saw, cutting the big square out of the asphalt. And as I was cutting there, one of the guys tapped me on the shoulder, and he pointed over on the road. And here's this great big gray wolf spider. And he was really angry. Now, I guess the vibration of the saw, or the sound of the saw, which kind of sounded like a chainsaw, but the vibration of that blade cutting through the asphalt, I guess, really irritated that arachnid. So he was coming at me across the asphalt, and he had his, his front legs up in the air in the attack position. So it was kind of creepy, and I stood up, and I turned the saw off, and I backed away, and that little critter kept coming right after me. Well, one of the guys ran up there and went to kick the thing, then kick it off the road. And when he swung his foot at the thing, it just like disappeared. And of course, this was a big macho dude, and he was like, where is it? Where is it? Is it on me? Is it on me? And he was all freaking out and totally scared about this spider. And we never did know what happened to it, because we never saw it again after that. But that was kind of strange. Remembering back, though, when I was a kid, and this was in probably the mid to late 60s, we had saw in the newspaper there was an article, and it was relating to the brown recluse spider. Now, I don't know if you know about brown recluse spiders. They're kind of a slow crawling, fuzzy-like spider with long legs, and they're really poisonous. Well, when they bite you, their venom just kind of like starts to decay your flesh, and it takes a while, but if you don't get it treated, it'll get gangrenous, and you'll have a huge infection, and you can end up losing your arm or your leg or wherever you get bit by one of these. So that makes them kind of dangerous. And historically, we never had anything dangerous in this part of the country where we live. So the article said, that the brown recluse spider was on the rise. And as kids, we were all like, whoa, there's poisonous spiders around here now. So we kind of freaked out about that. I remember reading that article and looking at that picture, and the brown recluse spider, if you look at it right on the back of its head, it looks like a violin. And it really looks like a little violin shape right on the back, so they're easy to identify that way. I guess the saving grace about it is, though, that they're very reclusive, so they're real shy, and they hide in like dark, warm areas, so you'd be kind of unlikely to ever run into them, but there's a chance that it could happen, I guess. Well, my brother was pretty freaked out about it. And he claimed that he saw a brown recluse spider in the house. And of course we said, oh yeah, sure. You know, they're not even around here. And he says, no, I saw one, and it had a violin on the back, and it was in the bedroom. I said, what'd you do with it? I don't know, it ran away, and I never saw it again. I said, oh great, you know. So we didn't give it much concern. But he did eventually find another one, he said, in the bathroom. He was taking a shower or a bath or whatever, and he came out of there, and he ran and got a baby food jar, and he put it over top of the spider, and he was able to put it in this jar and capture it. And he said, I found the spider, it's a brown recluse spider, and I have it in this jar. Well, we looked at it and said, whoa. I looked at it closer, said, that does look like a brown recluse spider, and it does have like a violin thing on its back. So we showed my dad, and he looked at it, and he said, it does kind of match the picture of a brown recluse spider. Well, that's weird that we would have them in our house like that. So he called the local health department, and they said, well, we'd be interested in taking a look at it ourselves. So we did just that. We took it to the health department, and they said, wow. Well, nobody here is an expert on spiders or arachnids, but we think you may have found a brown recluse. What we're going to do is we're going to send it to this laboratory in Texas, and they're experts on, because there's a lot of more poisonous things out west there, Texas area. So they shipped it off, and a week or so later, we got a phone call that it came back positive. Yes, it was a brown recluse spider, and they wanted to come out and look through the house and see if they could find anything. So I remember these guys showed up in this van one day, and there was a couple of guys, two guys, and they had on the white paper suits that completely cover them and taped off at the wrists, and then they had gloves, and they had little hoods that they pulled over around their face with safety glasses, and they came and they had these little trays that they carried with little specimen jars in them. And so they went in the house, and I don't remember being in the house when they were in there. I don't know if we were outside in the yard playing or what, but when they were all said and done, they came out of there and they said, we found at least a dozen specimens. Well, we said, well, where did you find them? They said, well, we found some of the shell casings under the beds. Now, spiders molt like a snake, so they shed their skin. And you find these little dried up spider skins, and they said, so they've molted like under the bed. But they said that here's the thing though, we went up in your attic, and they said when we found a paper bag up there full of these giant pine cones. Now, we had taken a vacation, and we had gone all the way out to California to the redwoods, the big sequoia trees, and they have giant pine cones, so my mom wanted to collect these pine cones, and we put them in a bag. And what she would do is make them look like Christmas ornaments or Christmas trees. So she would glue like little decorations on them and spray this fake snow on them, and you could set them as a centerpiece. But we had this bag, and I don't know how many pine cones were in there, but they ended up being stuck up in the attic. Well, the pine cones were full of brown recluse eggs, and the attic was warm. It was dark, and it was reclusive up there, so they hatched out, and it was infested with brown recluse spiders. So they told us, they said, okay, here's the deal. We're going to need to fumigate your house. So we ended up taking a vacation for about a week. They said, once you leave, let us know. We're going to come. We're going to do the fumigation. You can lock the door and leave, and don't come back for at least 3 days. So I remember, I think we went camping or something, but I remember they went in and they set off these fumigation bombs all through the house, and we left. And then after that, I guess it killed everything in the house. There wasn't any spiders, flies, anything. It killed everything. So I got rid of the brown recluse spiders. I don't remember ever seeing any more after that, or even being afraid. I don't think we were afraid, because I think we were pretty well convinced that that was the end of them, that we got rid of them. So, and nobody got bit by one, thank goodness, so that was another plus. I guess it could have been a reality. It could have actually happened. So there's the big spider story. It's a true story, and a long time ago, though. But if you're afraid of spiders, don't tell your coworkers. They're liable to play some nasty tricks on you.